All right, so through that Desmos activity we just completed, we started talking about tangent lines versus secant lines. In bell work, we talked about this phrase as well, but average rate of change. When you see average rate of change, you can get this fancy formula. Average rate of change is how a quantity changes over some interval, f of b minus f of a all over b minus a. That looks fancy. All it means is slope. Okay. In particular, it means a 2-point slope, just like every slope we've ever done before. So average rate of change means slope. The first question says, find the average rate of change in temperature between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Include units in your answer. So when we see that average rate of change, we're just thinking slope. So I did 2 ordered pairs because we're finding slope. We need 2 x values and 2 y values. 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Those are my x values. We go to our chart here to find my y values. So my y are 80 and 62. Then we're finding slope. So Kylie, what did you set up here to find your slope? 62 minus 80. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We put that together. 62 minus 80, negative 18. 6 minus 2 is 4. Technically, we could leave it like that because this is calc. We don't have to simplify, but we can simplify. Negative 18 over 4. Oh, that's the same thing as negative 9 over 2. I would not go decimal. Leave it as a fraction. It's just easier. You're not going to make a mistake there. Now we got to talk units. So when we're talking units here, Evan, what does those top numbers represent here?
Top is the temperature.
The temperature. So that's in degrees Fahrenheit. So the top of my fraction, I'm going to label as degrees Fahrenheit, just like we wrote. 62 and 80. Oh, yeah, that was temperature. What about the 2 on bottom? What did that represent?
The time and hours.
The hours, yeah. This is the time in hours. Boom, there's my units. Degrees Fahrenheit per hour. Don't make it any harder than that. Part B asks us to interpret the meaning of this answer. Okay, this is something they would ask on the AP test, just like in the last chapter we had to talk about IVT. This is a question they could ask here. Now, this one's not as hard, but we're interpreting. You just got to make sure you include everything you need to include. All right, so on average, because we are doing average rate of change, let's say on average, because that's what we're doing. On average, if I said that the average temperature outside is 40 degrees, would I be correct? Is the average temperature outside 40 degrees? No, definitely not in August. It's not 40 degrees. But if I said the temperature average is 40 degrees in November, okay, yeah, you're right. But there's some context there. You have to tell me when your thing is true. So on average, when? You got to say the time frame. So on average, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., you have to say the interval. If you don't, it'd be wrong. So on average, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., we included time. The what? What is changing here? We're finding the average rate of change of what? The temperature. What did we do with the temperature? It did what? Dropped. I'm going to say decreased, but yes, the temperature decreased. Negative 9/2 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. What I just wrote was wrong. Don't write that. What did I do wrong here? I made a little mistake, but it's a big mistake. What did I do wrong? I decreased by a negative. If I decreased a negative 9/2 degrees Fahrenheit per hour, what did I really do? Increased. I double negative there. Okay, don't do that. Okay, make sure you're just saying decreased 9/2 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. And I'm done. That's it. I have everything I need there. We said on average. Yeah, cool. It makes sense. It's on average. You have to say the time interval. That's the number one thing students will forget. What was changing? Well, it was the temperature. What did it do? You could just say the temperature changes negative 9/2 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. That's fine. I said decreased because it makes more sense. And then what the value was with the units. Questions on how we interpret that? It's not bad. It's what you would think you would need. The only thing you will forget is the time interval. Let's do one more together here and we'll be done for the day. The demand for a particular product is given by D of P equals that equation items where P is the price in dollars. So this right here is given by the demand. This is the demand equation. Is equal to negative 2P squared minus 2P plus 400 items, where P is the unit price in dollars. So P is the price, and that's going to be the demand in items. That's what the whole equation is. Letter A says find the average rate of change in demand with respect to the price between $5 and $7. Include units. Do it. Average rate of change in demand. Think about what you need, set it up with your neighbor, get an answer with units. Go. All right, let's look. If we are doing average rate of change, when you see average rate of change, Austin, what does that mean? That means slope. In order to find slope, we need 2 points. What do you think your x values are going to be here? $5 and $7. Those are my x values. To find them, I need to get y values. Caden, how did you find your y values? Plug them in. I'm plugging into that equation right there. For 5, you get 340. Is that right? 340 for 5. When I plug in 7, I get 288. So then we're setting up slope here. Okay, so if I'm setting up slope here, Zachary, what's that going to look like?
28 minus 340 over 7.5.
Wonderful. Plug that in. We're going to simplify 288 minus 340. That'd be negative 52. 7 minus 5, that'd be 2. Again, you don't have to simplify, but you can simplify this. What's negative 52 divided by 2 going to give me? Negative 26. We need some units. So when I'm looking at units here, Evan S., what's the top, the 288 and 340? What does that represent? It's the D, the demand. So that's the unit on that's going to be the items. The 5 and the 7, that was this. So what does the 5 and 7 represent? The P, the price, the dollars. So items per dollar. Okay, it's a weird unit there. It's kind of hard to read it. But yeah, it's items per dollar. Cool, we did that. Part B, we're going to interpret it. Okay, so we're going to try to interpret, make sure we got everything. So Lillian, what do you say on that one? How'd you interpret this thing?
I said on average. Between $5 and $7.
Wonderful. So we set a time interval. That's important. When was this true? Well, when the price was $5 to when the price was $7. Great. The demand decreased. It changed in somehow. This is average rate of change. It's all about change. The demand decreased 26 items per dollar, which would make sense. Think about this. Okay, if I tried to sell you something for $5, you might buy it. But if I changed it to $7, less people might buy it. The demand, the amount of people that wanted it, decreased. 26 items per dollar. So when you raised it $2, 52 less people wanted to buy it during that time interval. On average, a time interval, what changed, how did it change, and the number with the units. Questions on something we did today? Not too hard. All right.